what happens when you put milk into tea? I know you're a big fan of tea. On the last conversation, you spoke about a lot of the benefits of tea, but I think I've heard you say that if you add milk to your tea, that actually you reduce some of the beneficial effects. Is that right?
You know, those scientists that do television shows to actually make science accessible to people. This is kind of where we need to go with this topic. So look, tea, green tea, especially, has a natural polyphenol that's called catechins, EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, EGCG, and the catechin is actually just part of the natural substance in the tea leaf. So whether you're brewing tea with a bag, or whether it's loose leaf tea, or whether it's matcha, which is just powdered tea leaves, the fact of the matter is that into the brew, into the liquid, the hot liquid, comes all these phytochemicals, including these catechins. So when you sip straight tea, the catechins go right in. They're easily absorbed by your body. And so, you know, our blood levels of catechins go way up. So many things that catechins can do. One of the things that's important is actually it's a relaxant. It actually helps lower your stress. It lowers the catecholamines. And so other things, it helps your lipids. It actually also helps fight cancer. It's anti-inflammatory, kind of like curcumin. It's a substance that has so many beneficial things that, at least when I drink tea, I want to get as much as I can out of my food. All right. Now, I deeply respect traditions of eating and drinking. And one of the things that, I know is a tradition in England is, you put, or in Ireland, you actually put some milk or cream into your tea. It actually changes the flavor profile, and it's lovely. I've had plenty of teas in England before, and I find it to be just such an incredibly nice. I feel great, sort of like having an English tea. Put dairy in it. Here's what you need to know. Dairy, and I'm talking about cow dairy, right? So not nut milk. This applies to cow dairy. We'll come back to the nut milk in a second. Cow dairy, okay, actually is fat. Milk has got fat in it, like butter, which is made out of milk. And the fat, when you put it into your tea, does change its flavor, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that when milk or cream is put into tea, the fat molecules in the cow dairy form little soap bubbles. These are microscopic soap bubbles. They're called micelles. Fat likes to stick with fat. And so tea is mostly water. And so when you pour milk into tea, the bubbles, the dairy fat sticks together and makes a little tiny soap bubble. And what does it do? Those soap bubbles trap the polyphenols from tea. It traps the catechin. So you've got some good stuff wrapped in a soap bubble of dairy. And now when you drink the tea, the catechin is trapped in the soap bubble. It doesn't get absorbed as easily in your stomach, and it just rolls down your gut, and a lot of it comes out the other end. Okay. And so you're missing out on a lot of the good stuff. You get a great, you get a nice flavor. And so I have, what I'm telling you is that if you're drinking milk, or cow milk, dairy, put it in your tea, you're getting good flavor if that's what you like, but you're missing out on all as most of the polyphenols. So just be aware that that's what you're actually doing. Now, if you want to actually still cut the tea with something that is milk-like, nut milks are fine because they don't actually have the same fatty reaction that the cow dairy has. So almond milk, cashew milk, those soy milks, they're all fine.
I mean, that's really interesting. And I like the way you frame it with this deep respect for cultures and traditions, because I hear that. And I think for someone who might be listening or watching this and they think, yeah, but you know what? It's just a part of what I do. Like I love putting milk in my black tea, or I know some people even put it in their green tea, which I certainly haven't tried before. They might hear that and they may not want to change what they do. But is this where potentially supplements could come in? Let's say they like the taste of milky tea, but they hear that and think, well, I want all those benefits of those polyphenols and the catechins that Dr. Lee was talking about. Maybe I can boost that another way by taking a supplement. Is there any merit to that way of thinking? And I guess you could expand that broadly into what is your view of, supplements as a whole huge category, but there are some really good quality supplements out there. Perhaps you could speak to those issues a little bit, please.
Yeah. Well, let's pick up the thread on tea for a second, because I had this discovery that might be useful for your listeners who are in exactly that situation where they like the taste of milk in their tea. I discovered there is something called milk tea, and it's actually from Taiwan. It's grown in the mountain, and it's just pure tea leaves that when you brew it, it tastes like it's got dairy in it.
Oh, wow.
It's quite amazing. I mean, if I made a cup of that for you and then made a cup of English tea with milk in it, you would have a hard time telling the difference. It's quite remarkable. Milk tea. It's a kind of, I think it's an oolong style tea, so it's mildly fermented and still got green properties. It's got polyphenols in it, but it has to do with the way, the climate, the way that it's naturally grown, and the type of tea it is. So, all right, so let's move that aside for a second. All right, well, so what about supplements? I think that we should look to the word itself. A dietary supplement means something to top off. So I always tell people, if you have a choice of getting it from the whole food, the whole food will tend to have a lot of other stuff that's good for you. If you eat whole plant-based foods, for example, you get the fiber, you get the polyphenols, you get a lot of other chemical substances, you get the natural peptides that are found in foods. That if you got a pure supplement, you might get the one molecule or two molecules that it's been created for, like a vitamin C supplement. If you want to top off your vitamin C, it's pure vitamin C. You're going to get a lot of it if you take a vitamin. But if you had citrus, you're going to get all that flavor. You're going to get a different kind of flavor. You get some. You do get sugar. You get fiber. You get the limonene and all these other hesperidin, all these other bioactives that you can't get from a regular supplement alone. That said, you are absolutely right. Supplements can be really important, particularly for people who have difficulty getting a lot of some nutrients or their food. So, for example, I think omega-3 fatty acids are a great supplement if you get a high quality omega-3. Not everybody eats oily fish, day in, 2 to 3 times a week. You only need to eat the amount in each serving with the size of a deck of playing cards. So you don't need to eat very much. But, that's not something most people do. People who live on the coastline, they might be doing it, but many people don't. So omega-3s are so important to our health. I mean, this has been shown time and time and again. That's a supplement that's definitely worth taking, and it's a lot easier to swallow omega-3s than it is actually to go to your fishmonger and then to look at what the catch of the day is. That's an example. Another example of a supplement I think is really worth taking is probably vitamin D3. Yeah. Okay. Vitamin D, for those of us who live in the northern hemisphere where we don't have as much sun all the time, all year round, and where it's cold, so we're indoors a lot and not always outdoors under the sunshine. So I'm not talking Costa del Sol. I'm not talking about South Africa, or Australia. I'm talking about, England, Northern Europe, North America, and sort of the northeastern side. Okay. We don't get as much sunlight. And even if we do go outside, because it's cold, we wear a lot of clothes. And so our skin tends to be covered up. And so vitamin D is made by our skin when sunlight actually hits it. And so we tend to be vitamin D deficient. So here's an example of where you can eat foods like mushrooms that can have vitamin D, for example. By the way, I don't know if this is a little tidbit for you. I just told you that human skin with ultraviolet radiation from the sun will make more vitamin D. But did you know that if you took just a plain old lowly white button mushroom that contains some vitamin D, if you were to, before you eat it, when you buy it, if you slice it pretty thinly, and you lay the slices out and you put it in your windowsill, so the sun shines on the slice, it will make more vitamin D.
Wow.
You will actually convert more vitamin D into the mushroom. So if you're going to prepare something with mushrooms, slice them ahead of time, stick them in front of a sunny window, no matter what time of the year it is, maybe a couple hours before you cook with it, and the mushrooms will actually give you more vitamin D. But it's a lot easier to get your regular dose of daily vitamin D by actually just having D3 supplements. And so that's an example.
Yeah, no, I love that. And certainly what I found with my patients, like I always adopt a food first approach, definitely. But many people these days have got, as you've already touched on, super busy, stressed out lifestyles, and they're rushing around, and they either don't have time to cook a fresh whole meal. They're often buying things on the go that probably aren't the best thing for them. They've probably got high levels of stress. So actually, they're probably not even absorbing as many nutrients as they could because their digestive system isn't in the right place to absorb those nutrients. And I found sometimes, a good quality supplement, like let's say a whole food, sometimes a green supplement, which has lots and lots of different phytochemicals, prebiotics, polyphenols in. It could be helpful. And sometimes it could be helpful in the short term to help them have more energy and feel better so that they can then make those lifestyle choices. So I know a lot of doctors take quite a hard line on supplements, but you've demonstrated some really important ones that I think have been shown in scientific studies have real benefits, like vitamin D for sure. So yeah, I really, really appreciate you.
I want to support and underscore what you just said. There's always something valuable to look at the history of things. Supplementation wasn't developed to be an online internet scam. Okay. Supplementation was a really serious effort to improve global nutrition.
Yeah.
Because back in even the early 20th century, most of the world was undernourished. That's different than malnutrition. I mean, maybe there was some malnutrition too, but undernutrition and undernourished means that, we were eating food, but we weren't eating enough of the right things at the right time. And so one of the things that supplements were developed to do is to really fortify, supplement, top off, everyone, so that everyone could have a more equal chance of filling up, becoming replete with the key micronutrients that our body needs to actually survive. And so I think it's a mistake to disparage supplements as a category. I mean, this is the theme of what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's not character assassinate entire categories of things. Let's be discerning and try to know exactly what we're talking about. There are some dietary supplements that are absolutely valuable. Some that research has actually proven to be helpful, and some that can be life-saving as well. Pregnant moms really need to be taking folate. If you don't have those, you'll have neural tube defects in your babies. The risks go much higher. So you really want to be able to actually take the evidence. And so this is the other thing I think maybe a useful coat hook or hat hook to hang for your listeners is that supplements are the real deal because they were originally designed to help the body top off with what it actually needs. But if the marketing, and we're back to marketing now, sounds too good to be true, if the claims sound like they're just magical claims, that's when your spidey sense, your radar needs to go on that, maybe there's something not quite fully honest about what is being told about this, and it's being misrepresented. And so I think that every consumer needs to be able to, again, this is where I come back to, we all have mobile devices. We can easily search something. When in doubt, look it up, check it out, and then make your own decision if that fits your comfort zone.
Organic or non-organic is another topic that people find confusing. If people are able to access organic and they are able to afford it, in your view, are there any benefits to choosing that?
Right. Well, I want to just tell everyone that, first of all, I was a skeptic for many years about organic food. I thought it was marketing. I thought the food looked beautiful, was very expensive, and I thought it was mostly marketing. And the marketing message that I received as a consumer was, here's this beautiful food that's more expensive. And by the way, we don't grow it with pesticides. And so you've got less harmful chemicals on it. And it didn't feel right to me. And I had all these questions in my head about like whether or not that's really true. And what do I just wash my food a little bit more? I wasn't really sure what was real or not. Well, I changed my mind a few years ago. And I'll tell you, I was at the Royal Society in London, actually, at a really incredible meeting with horticulturalists, with astrophysicists, just a bunch of incredible scientists. And I had the privilege of sitting next to a horticulturalist, and I was talking with her about a new paper, research paper that had come from out of the journal Nature, which is a British publication, one of the premier scientific journals. And I said, I just read this paper that was really astounded me. They looked at strawberries and they were looking for the natural substance, ellagic acid, which is what makes strawberries tart. And ellagic acid is anti-inflammatory. It helps your immune system. It starves cancer. I've done research on ellagic acid myself. And so I know how powerful it is. And they were looking at strawberries, comparing organic versus conventionally grown strawberries. Another way to say that is strawberries grown with pesticides or not with or no pesticides. And they were looking at ellagic acid in the strawberries. And when they measured the conventionally grown strawberries, they all had some ellagic acid. That was fine. Okay. I expected that. But then when they measured the organic strawberries, every single organic strawberry they measured had 2 times or more of the ellagic acid. And I thought that was absolutely astounding that an organically grown fruit would actually have more of that beneficial substance, that Mother Nature's kind of bioactive. And so I talked to the horticulturist and I said, okay, so help me understand why, right? So look, when you're talking to a real scientist, when scientists admit that they don't know something, right? So, and that's how anybody who says they know everything, probably not a scientist. I mean, so I literally admitted my ignorance about this, and I asked the horticulturist, "Can you help me understand why that might be?" And she gave me this answer that I've subsequently dove more deeply in, and it's absolutely true. It's true with coffee as well. Mother Nature, in part, made these bioactives like ellagic acid in strawberries, or in coffee, chlorogenic acid is another one of these. And the way that plants respond to bugs nibbling on the stems and leaves, biting at them, okay, that's the pest. Okay, might make the plant not look so nice. All right, might even mar the fruit a little bit, so it's not quite as beautiful. But the plant reacts to those little nibbles as an injury, as a wound. And in response, and a wound healing response, it produces more ellagic acid.
Yeah.
Or in a case of coffee, it makes more chlorogenic acid. So the little nibbling is part of kind of the way that evolution actually developed how plants respond to create more of these bioactives. So what happens? So why is there this difference? Well, if you actually grow a strawberry with pesticides, there's fewer bugs. The plant looks nicer. Fruit looks nicer. No bugs, no injury, less ellagic acid being made. And so all of a sudden, this light bulb went off in my head. And this was a few years ago that I realized this, and I had this conversation. Everywhere I've looked, any research that's been done, it is true that the bioactives are higher in the organically grown plants. And that started to change my mind about organics, because the argument now is not that organics have less bad stuff. The argument is the organics have more good stuff. Now, all of a sudden, I have a different view of the nature of how this fruit is grown and what the benefits of growing without pesticides are.